You know, with all the talk of bikes and bike prices getting out of hand, there is definitely the perception that motorcycling, in Canada especially, is an expensive sport. I get a lot of comments that new riders just can't afford to get in with the prices of new motorcycles these days, and the gear and insurance on top of that. But the truth is that the majority of young riders would be best served just getting something on the used market. Buying a relatively low mileage motorcycle that has already lost the new bike premium but retains the looks, performance, and fun factor to get your heart pumping. So, since this is the time of year that a lot of new riders are getting their licenses and looking for their first bike, I decided to go down memory lane and hit the classifieds, mostly Facebook Marketplace, in order to see what kind of motorcycles are available on the used market in my area for the truly rock bottom prices that a young rider wanting to get into the sport could afford without going into huge debt. After all, no point of spending a ton of money on the hobby in case you try it and end up not enjoying it. When starting out, you really need to dip your toe in the water before truly committing. And so, in this video, we'll look at the kind of cheap used machines new riders have to choose from in the sport, naked, cruiser, adventure, and dual sport categories, using actual ads that are up in the Toronto region, a typical North American metropolitan area. Your results will vary by country. After all, different models are sold in different places, but at least you'll get a rough idea of what's out there. So stay tuned, and if you're enjoying the content, please consider helping this channel by subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with friends. First, let's get real. If you're just starting out, A, you don't want to spend a lot of money on your bike, and B, you don't want to be wrenching on it to fix it every other day. Which is why you shouldn't be surprised that the vast majority of motorcycles on this list are going to be Japanese. Most of the bikes I'll mention can be had for between 500 and 5,000 Canadian dollars, which is about 350 to 3,500 US. Japanese bikes have been dominating the North American market for decades, offering reasonably priced options, and they are built to last. And if you're a beginner, it is not a bad idea to start your motorcycling journey on a cruiser. Cruisers tend to be heavier and worse handling than other types of motorcycles, but they have low seat heights, unintimidating power, and are a stylish gateway into the hobby. Over the last few decades, one cruiser has stood out as the quintessential beginner bike, and that is the Honda Rebel 250. Yes, Honda has the 300 and twin-cylinder 500 now, but the old 250s can be found on the used market for next to nothing and are perfect for introducing newer riders to motorcycling. They are light, low, friendly, and approachable with soft power and bulletproof engines as long as you keep up with the maintenance schedule. And they look pretty cool too. The drawback here is that this air-cooled single-cylinder engine only puts down 19 horsepower and 14 pound-feet of torque, and that's when it's new, so this is really not a great option if you're planning to ride on the highway. Suzuki and Yamaha also offered 250cc options with the Suzuki Marauder 250 and the V-twin powered Yamaha V-Star 250, but they never quite got the same traction as the Little Rebel, so they're also less common on the used market. A better single-cylinder option for the highway is the old Suzuki Savage 650, later known as the Boulevard S40. With 30 horsepower and 33 pound-feet of torque, the power is still soft enough for most beginners, but enough for the highway and for two-up riding, and that huge air-cooled cylinder does look cool. However, many cruiser riders will want to step up to two-cylinder options, and here you have a few choices. The old Kawasaki Vulcan 500, a predecessor to the current 650, is a surprisingly peppy performer with a 500cc parallel twin from the old Ninja 500 sport bike. However, as far as cruisers are concerned, V-twins are where it's at, and that will be the engine configuration of most used Japanese cruisers. Here, two bikes stand out as perfect beginner options. The old Honda VTX 600, also known as the VT 600C or Shadow 600, has several advantages for new riders. One, it is very light on weight and power, making it an easy bike for a beginner to get along with. And two, it has a great stance and profile. The chain drive and soft-tail design, the rear shock is hidden and imitates the hardtail look, is exceptionally friendly for customizers. This bike can be chopped and bobbed to your heart's content and makes a great platform for customization. You can find lots of very stylish examples of these bikes already customized on the used market. In addition, the Yamaha V-Star 650, which used to come in a more chopped custom look or a fatter wheel classic option, is another example of a beginner-friendly cruiser with enough power for the highway or two-up riding, but not enough to be too intimidating for beginners. These come with the additional advantage of low-maintenance shaft drive and can also be a good canvas for customization. In fact, all the Japanese manufacturers were making these types of bikes during the cruiser craze of the late 90s and early 2000s, and you can find an absolute glut of them on the used market for rock-bottom prices. Perhaps the most common one is the Honda Shadow 750, which was also offered in a fat-fendered look, as well as a more custom style called the Spirit. Suzuki has a long line of 800cc bikes like the old chopper-styled Intruders, which later became the Boulevard C50s and grew some fat wheels as well. One Suzuki model many folks have forgotten was the Marauder 800 with its muscle bike styling. These can now be bought for a couple of crumpled gum wrappers and the lint you can find in your jeans pocket. Kawasaki has had a long line of 800cc V-twin Vulcans, which were later punched out to 900cc, and these are strong runners with more than enough power for any beginner. Many of these Japanese bikes were also offered in larger displacements between 1100 and 1600cc, but the larger ones are really not suitable for beginners. The ones that might suit you are the Shadow and V-Star 1100s, but you'd better be confident to jump on something that big. Finally, I know that some riders will want a used Harley for their first bike, so let me urge you right here, don't buy a street. They neither look good, sound good, or ride well. These were subpar bikes which Harley brought in almost as an afterthought to offer to riders looking for something inexpensive. Neither the 500 nor the 750 is worth your effort. They don't look or sound like a real Harley if that's what you're looking for, so bypass these and look for the only other semi-affordable proper Harley, the Sportster 883. These bikes are slow, heavy, and handle badly, but if you want the Harley look, sound, and feel, they're your ticket. Pricey for what you get, but the only proper Harleys which are still available for reasonable prices. Just as the Rebel 250 used to be the quintessential beginner cruiser, the Ninja 250 and eventually 300 was the perfect beginner sport bike. These little twin-cylinder engines revved high and produced a fair bit of power, enough to easily cruise the highway and be plenty entertaining. Nowadays they've grown to 450cc, but these older ones are plentiful and dirt cheap because there are so many of them on the used market. They are reliable, have plenty of parts available to fix them if they break down, and are fairly disposable. Buy one, learn to ride, and sell them and get most of your money back before upgrading. Honda did produce the CBR 250/300R, a single-cylinder competitor to the Lil Ninja, and there are plenty of those around too, but they are less powerful, though maybe a bit more torquey. My wife Brooke started on the naked version of this bike, the CB300F, and these are also fast enough to cruise the highway. If you want to go larger, both Hondas also come in 471cc twin-cylinder versions, though these were and are, they're still produced, quite a bit heavier, weighing well over 400 pounds. And if you're feeling particularly confident and you want a bike that will be a serious step up in performance, you can get an older model Suzuki SV650, though this is a lot of bike for the typical beginner. These were light and had over 70 horsepower and around 50 pound-feet of torque. On the street, their easily available power band made them highly desired, and they ruled the middleweight roost for a very long time, which explains why there are so many on the used market. There was a faired version and a more upright round headlight model, which was sold in the US but not Canada. Those old 650s are not to be confused with the newer ones, which were reintroduced in 2017 and which are available on the used market but generally at higher prices. And sandwiched between the two SV650 runs is the Gladius 650, which is basically an SV650 that got beaten with an ugly stick as Suzuki designers decided to upgrade the styling. Because of its aesthetic challenges, these powerful and well-performing bikes didn't sell well on the new or used market and are now available for a song. So if you're the type who cares about performance and not styling, this is a great bang for the buck option. Keep in mind that all of these 650s are going to be too much for most beginner riders, so only consider them if you are extremely confident and/or have some dirt biking experience. Now, adventure motorcycles tend to be too tall, powerful, and expensive for most new riders, so you won't find too many cheap options for beginners. However, even here there are a few choices for the aspiring new adventurers. In the smaller category, the Kawasaki Versys 300X can sometimes be found on the used market, though they are rare, which probably means that their owners like them. This bike has the peppy Ninja 300 motor, is plenty sporty and quite light at 380 pounds wet. If you're taller, stronger, and a lot more confident, you have two more options. The one better suited for off-road is the Kawasaki KLR 650, which is a tow bike that straddles the adventure dual sport divide. Pre-2008 ones had a smaller fairing and were considerably lighter, while the fully faired 2008 to 2018 models are more adventure-oriented but also heavier and less off-road worthy. The KLRs can be found on the used market for lower prices that are within reach of most consumers, and their range and power make them desirable adventure mounts. They are neither fast nor awesome off-road, but they are utilitarian and capable of taking you around the world. If your adventuring is mostly done on pavement, then the Suzuki V-Strom 650 is a great choice for an introduction to adventuring. These have the same V-twin engine as the SV650 and therefore have plenty of power for both highway touring and even 2-up. Plus, some of the older ones can be purchased for under $3,000, even kitted out with full touring accessories. The engines are bulletproof and the road handling is much better than the KLR 650. A warning here is that these bikes weigh almost 500 pounds wet, are tall, and have a lot of power for a beginner. So again, size, strength, and dirt biking experience is an asset if you're getting one of these. And if you are looking for a tourer and you're not going to do any significant off-roading, the Kawasaki Versys 650 is an excellent choice of a sports tourer. It is similar to the V-Strom 650 in size and power, but is a bit sharper handling because of its 17-inch front wheel. Additionally, earlier models 2006 to 2014 suffer from the same issue as the Suzuki Gladius. They are so damn ugly that people can't give them away, which means that riders who care about performance, not looks, can get one for a slamming deal. Finally, I want to talk about dual sports on the used market, which is a difficult topic because ever since the pandemic, the prices of older dual sports have exploded. Old DR650s and DRZ400s are selling for as much as new ones. You can still get some older dual sports used, but these days they are limited to only a few models. One of the better ones are the old Yamaha XT225s and 250s, which are surprisingly good off-road. Additionally, these bikes are quite beginner-friendly because of their relatively low seat heights. Another Yamaha dual sport with an accessible seat height is the TW200, the fat bike of dual sports. The T-Dub will surprise you by trucking through some extreme terrain without requiring tremendous off-road skills. Neither the XT nor the TW have enough power for faster highways, so if you have ideas of commuting at 70 miles per hour, forget it. If you are lucky, you might come across a beat-up Kawasaki KLX 250 or Honda CRF 250L for a low price, but these two more powerful and capable dual sports generally command higher prices. And finally, a word of caution. If you go old enough or high mileage enough, you can find a bike of any size and power for very low prices. But these big, powerful bikes can prove too much for a beginner. So remember that just because you can afford it doesn't mean you should buy it. Plus, these older, high-mileage bikes can turn into a reliability nightmare. Better to go lighter, learn how to ride, and then move up, than buy so much bike you'll be terrified to ride it and eventually leave the sport. So the takeaway from this video is that there are plenty of dirt cheap options for beginners out there, but do stay humble and be careful not to pick something that will land you in trouble. Better to be safe and a bit bored than to pick an affordable but heavy 100 plus horsepower bike and be terrified of it. Slow and steady wins the race, a mantra I didn't follow in 1999 when I started on an Intruder 1400. I dropped that bike on the first day I had it, by the way. In retrospect, I should have bought the first year model SV650. So what bike did you start on or are thinking of starting on, and why? What inexpensive used bikes did I miss in this video? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, ride safe, and may the spokes be with you.